This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham 2024. I'm Scott McPike. It's a pleasure as always to be your host. We missed a show last week, and instead of the kind of usual landscape of what we're going to do, there's a lot of news to get through of when we were last on, so we're going to just cover that. We're going to do a preview for Sandown, and we're going to have a final look at what Ante post books and add to them. To join me, as always, it is an absolute pleasure to be joined by from the Scottish Daily Mail, Calum McClurkin.
Hi there. Yeah, all good. We're getting final declarations now, so it's really beginning to kind of come home. Some, big news, big withdrawals. Hopefully, that's the end of that, and some big decisions are finally being made as well. So yeah, it's all concreting up, and people are going to win out of it and lose out of it. But start of play Tuesday. It's going to be very exciting either way.
Yeah, we are going to have a special preview show on Monday night at 5:30, so tune in for that. We're going to have a preview of all 28 races at the festival, and we're going to be all over that, so I'm looking forward to that. But we're going to do a wee prep show. This is our kind of last kind of real show before the festival gets started, so we did ask for some questions and we got them in. As always, Callum, this has been a popular subject in a lot of shows. Should trainers have to declare targets within 7 days of a big festival such as Cheltenham? This question I wrote down last night, and typical Willie Mullins, he changes the plans because he announces today what we were all thinking. Ballyburn was probably the subject for a lot of people putting this question in. What do you think of this? Because as an anti-post punter, it's very difficult. I mean, I text you like literally an hour before the Ballyburn news came in to say I find it really hard to have a bet in the Supreme or, as we now know, Gallica Novices Hurdle, because you really don't know what the landscape's going to be. Because if Ballyburn goes one way, a few horses are going to go the other. So it's really tough. But in a way to kind of combat that, should trainers have to declare at least 7 days before and give us as punters a bit of a clue, or are the punters not really matter in times like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, punters are the last thing that comes under consideration when these decisions are being made, finalised. I don't think declaring 7 days out is the way, because a lot can happen in there. I mean, imagine if the Constitutional Health News was happening right now instead of a week before. All of a sudden, there'd be a clamour to kind of reroute horses here, there, and everywhere. So, I mean, the nature of the race can change dramatically, and like downpours on the day and things like that. I mean, rain, weather-wise. So, I don't think that's the solution. I think the solution is that 2-3 weeks beforehand, nominate preferences.
Mm-hmm.
With your declarations and your last scratching round. I mean, the Ballyburn instance is a classic example. He's not racing after the Dublin Racing Festival. I mean, that's a good kind of 5-week break. Surely it only takes a couple of weeks to actually have a strong inkling where you're intending to go by then. And then you can kind of maybe deviate later on if you wanted to, in terms of like ground, maybe opposition, maybe if other stable stars, went the other way or were missing. But you see it double declarations in Saturday. I mean, you go for like your five day decks, and one's declared at Chepstow, one's declared at Doncaster, and and you see the card, and then you see the asterisks of first preference, second preference. I think that could be a thing at Cheltenham Festival. I think it would be it wouldn't kind of be a cure all cure evil kind of solution, but I think 2-3 weeks out, I think that would kind of nip it in the bud, because the Ballyburn stuff was getting really, really boring for a good couple of weeks, and it does create a little bit of resentment in serious punters that are looking for this, and you've got non-run or no bet concessions that you've got to deal with, so it's just an excuse to compress the whole market, and you're looking at like 180% books, and you're not going to beat that. You're just not. So you have to give up. You don't give up. I mean, you just wake up every morning, monitor the exchange, move on. That's it. There is absolutely nothing to be gained from it, and it just creates a very stale market with low liquidity, and it doesn't take a lot to move them. And too many people are kind of looking into these kind of minor moves, and there aren't there, because your big hitters are going to start coming in now. a week out, a day out, an hour out, a minute out. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more you are. So they're your true market forms. It's just a guide at the moment, and it's a guide that's even like further and further away when you don't know where the odds-on favourite's going to go.
Yeah, we will have more on Ballyburn later on in the show. Next question: what is your biggest 25-1 plus play of the festival? But you've got 4, I've got 1, so I'll go with my one first if you don't mind. I like a horse for Gordon Elliott in the Boodles by the name of Calum, who was very, very well thought of in the summer in terms of being an exciting juvenile. Finished 4th on first appearance this season at Cork. Won at Galway, where he beat a horse for Martin Brazel called Ose Partia, who has been getting a lot of traction in the Boodles market as of late. Carlson's 40-1 and 27th on the list. So while here with caution, he might not get in. Probably leaning towards he probably won't get in based on what's in front of him. But Ose Partia, who since that day has finished 9th, 8th, and 10th, all in grade 1s, is now £7 higher rated than him. So it's a weird one to really assess. I think Carlson, maybe not the Jazzy Matty type of last year, but I think at 40-1 based on what we saw early in the season, and he ran okay in a couple of kind of decent juvenile races before Christmas. I just think 40-1 for 16-1 and £7 a difference is quite big. And that's the only kind of big one I've got. But I just thought they'd get the gamble the Martin Brazel horse. I just don't get, to be honest.
Well, I mean, the Boodles is you're never going to put anybody off having a flyer in that. Even, the price, like Jeff Kidder winning at hundreds and things like that. I mean, you don't know what kind of if you can over elaborate the plots a little bit. This is one of the markets that is becoming. Now you see the declarations that's having a little bit more sense here because all your Lark in the Mornings, Batman Giracs, all these are now coming into sensible prices now. I mean, the rush into like 4s and 5s is gone. They're going out to 6s and 7s, and I think they could go out further. Well, people see Canaliaris and things like that, and then they see beyond the first layer of the market and go, actually, there's a bit more depth to this than the first thought in it, and there should be because it's a Cheltenham handicap. So yeah, I would think that would be a reasonable shout if he gets in, of course. And you've got the non-runner no bet cover
that as well
still anyway. So I mean, it is an okay time to have some flyers.
Right, Calum, I've been waiting for this since I heard 4 plays at 25-1 plus. I'll give you the floor. On you go.
Well, first one is 25-1. It's Albert Bartlett's Croke Park. I mean, okay. I don't really understand why Firefox is 7-2 favourite for the Supreme, which would be a traditionally stronger, more high-profile race, and his other representative that bombed out the Lawers and Ace in a similar fashion was his staying horse in the race, and it's Croke Park. And even after the DRF, Jack Kennedy came out and said he'd be my number one in that race. My trump card's in front of him. The market style story's the same price. You'd have to think that if he's back in top form, he's got them covered. He's screaming out to go 3 miles. And Gigginstown and Elliott normally have a really strong candidate for this. He's not been found in the market yet, but you have having to kind of overcome that kind of lameness thing. He wasn't in Gordon Elliott's kind of main stable tour, which everyone panicked and thought, oh, he's out. He's actually not. There was one with Kevin Blake at the races saying that he's actually fine. He's planning to go here. I think he's probably their number one, and I think when people see Jack Kennedy on board, I think he's probably going to be entering that kind of bracket of maybe 12-14s or something. So he's been one I've been tapping away at 25 for a fair while. Up to the 40-1 bracket. Bold Endeavour, the Per Thompson, I think is now a wild price. I mean, and I like High London for Nicky Henson's as well at 20s. I think this boy, if he runs what he did at Haydock against Cramble, his second favourite for the Stairs Hurdle, he's gonna be bang there. I know high 140s, 143 kind of thing. It's no gimme a mark, but he was reliable, he's consistent. He was 5th in the Coral Cup last year and he's staying on quite well. He needs this trip. That's been the plan all year. People are caught on at Chantry House. I don't know why. Maybe because he's ran in graded races in the past. But I mean, he's definitely not the force of old, and you think a bit long in the tooth for this. And yeah, I would quite like to see kind of Freddie Gordon maybe claiming off him because he's had a good run under him this season as well. So he's been kind of tipping away. I think he's reliable. I think he can hit the frame. I think 40s is a bit big. And the other two are in the Kim Muir. The stipulations whether they're going to go or not. The first one's Stormy Judge, who's unfortunately entered in the Leinster National at 40-1. But I mean, the Fahey group, they can kind of mark one out for this, and they can get a jockeying bolt. I think it's going to be ground related. It might be drying up a bit too much for him, that's a concern. But he went to Ayr and it was a bit too quick for him for the Scottish National one day. I thought he shaped quite well the last days. If he was earmarking for some sort of spring target, it's probably going to be the Leinster National rather than this, but he's still winning the radar. And one out of hundreds is Castle Robin of Charlie Longson's in this. I was quite keen on him last year, and they went to Doncaster instead for, I think, the Grimthorpe, the Great Yorkshire races and things like that. It was a bit too quick of a turnaround. They haven't gone this way this time. It's down 5. It's been bought by Dr. Hay, who's had big price winners at big festivals like Goodwood, such in the flat. But you could earmark one out for this. Charlie Longson doesn't have a bad record on this. He has good relationships with conditional and amateur jockeys. You could find one if they go here. He's going to get in, and he's won kind of a really classy race at Sandown just the year before off higher marks, which would be a kind of similar contest to this. We'd want maybe a bit of cut in the ground, but in a race where it can go anywhere, I think him at 100 is a bit insulting, to be honest. If he goes, you're getting no bet anyway at 100-1, so it's definitely worth a kind of free each way flyer on it on them anyway, I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can I fully go along with that? I'm very intrigued to see how they end up. Final question before we get into news. Has the festival lost its spark in terms of punting with 10 odds-on favourites in 28 races?
Yeah. It's almost going the way of the dodo, really, isn't it? I mean, you're getting too many races, not enough horses filling them out. There is a good one novice race too many. There's like one mare's race too many. So there's one novice chase race too many, and there's an amateur race too many. And I would cull 4, and make it 6 times 4, and cut it from 28 to 24. It's too thinly spread out now. It's too diluted, and it's not reflecting in the costs and the quality that we're seeing for people that are paying. And you see every year. I mean, you see the odd one go there, and you can kind of tolerate it. But there's too many now, and you're facing with even worse value in the year. And I think there has to be a line where you have to draw and saying that I can't take that price, or I can't take this race seriously. And you're getting very, very close to that point now.
Yeah, I kind of go along with that. I kind of feel a bit different maybe now than I did even last week. Like last week when we were kind of talking, I was kind of talking about it to somebody. I said, like, oh, listen, Chelsea, it just doesn't have the same feeling this year, and I don't know if that is down to prices or if it's just down to kind of just a different feel kind of overall. But I just feel that I think maybe the thing that's kind of got me jigged a bit is the kind of there's a few races kind of beginning to open up a bit, but you've still got a lot of races where I don't know what I'm going to have a bet in, and I think that's an issue. Like usually, even if there's like an odds-on shot like the Champion Hurdle, you'll find something at a price it's not even worth it's not even worth it anymore. Like it's just I just don't see it anymore, and I think the overall, as you say, the dilution. I do think I've been. My dad used to go to Cheltenham every year for 90s up until 2010 or something, and he would say every year since it went 4 days, he said there's too many bad horses turning up, and he's right. But what he's meaning by that is that because you've got so many options now, horses aren't taking each other on, and we see that all over the country with the jump season. To be honest, we're seeing too many horses avoid each other. But like for example, if the Albert Bartlett wasn't a thing, you would see a lot of them going for the Ballymore. Brighter Days Ahead, I think, is the most talking horse. She would be going for the Supreme and probably have a favourites chance in the Supreme. But because there's so many different options now, you have Dino Blue would probably be roughly joint second favourite in a champion chase. Lossiemouth would be definitely going for a champion hurdle. So it is that kind of have the options diluted the race, and I think it's obvious it has. But I think now more this year, there's a lot more in terms of, and we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. You can't really usually like during the season you would kind of 10 really good performances. We struggled to get 3 when we were asked. Like,
Mhm.
there's no as much really startling performances, and it's really worrying. I think the UK scene's bad as it is, but even in Ireland this year, like, you can't really say there's a lot of horses jumped out at you, and they're not going to take each other on in the biggest festival of the season. Like, that's the time with Royal Ascot. Like, the best of the Ireland take on the best of the British, and they're usually quite similar in terms of quality, and they beat the same opposition. It doesn't happen in jumps anymore.
No, it's just not too many races, not enough horses. It's getting that simple, and everyone thinks Cheltenham Festival is the golden goose, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it won't burst. It is getting a breaking point. I mean, for what it's worth, what I would do is I would get rid of these intermediate races that are a total waste of time, particularly at novice level. Demote the Mayor's Hurdle to a Grade 2, and that would have given Lossiemouth connections a decision to make to go champion hurdle. So so it's in line with the Mayor's Novice Hurdle and in line with the Mayor's Chase. They're all Grade 2s, so your really best mares can go into Grade 1s and have a go there. Well, if you're settling your own sex but you're superior to them, then you're going to carry a penalty. And I think that is one of the solutions that could be made quite quickly that would maybe help things in the short to medium term. I would get rid of the Barring Bingham completely. It's a total waste of time now. We are seeing too many good steers not going Bartlett. We're seeing far too many good 2-milers ending up here because of the result, and it's diluting the cutting race in the festival massively. The tunnels is having the exact same
Would you not get
problem.
rid of the
But it's
Bartlett instead of the
diluting.
Ballymore? Like, would that, because like that's
No,
kind of
we can you can keep the Bartlett and make it 2 mile 6 or 2 mile 6.5 like they do in Dublin Racing Festival,
yeah,
Nathaniel Lacey, and then you've either got a 2 mile horse or a 3 mile horse,
yeah,
rather than this absolute nonsense of having an intermediate trip all the time. And there's so many intermediate trip races at Aintree.
mm-hmm.
Punchestown, go there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come to Cheltenham with intermediate. You've either got a cracking 2 miler or a cracking 3 miler, and they go champion hurdle, champion chase, or your 3 miles go Steers Hurdle or Gold Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as simple as that. And if you get an intermediate stuff, then maybe there's a case for a Ryanair and maybe demote that to Grade 2.
Yeah.
Because your championship races are at championship distances. 2.5 miles isn't a championship distance. So when you can cut that for a start, and that'll get you 2 or 3 races back. And I think one of the amateur races can go as well. The Kinmuir National Hunt Chase, and the Fox Hunters are a little bit too similar for my liking, particularly and the Gold Cup as well. I don't think you need 4 of them on a 28. So get rid of them, and then all of a sudden you've got 4. And I think a 6 race card,
Yeah,
over 4 days is perfectly acceptable. That's what I would do.
yeah,
And
no,
tweak conditions of certain races. A penalty structure in the cross country, maybe a penalty structure in the National Hunt Chase, maybe tweak the distances back. Maybe if you've got a bit of doubt about the 3 miles thing, then you can make them 2 mile 6 races. There's so much you can do.
yeah,
Without kind of absolutely killing it stone dead. But it's the same. And if people are still taking bad prices all season, then they'll keep doing it.
yeah, no, absolutely. We could probably spend a full podcast on that, but we'll get into the news, what's been happening. Calum, I was away, enjoying my holiday, just sitting, not really thinking about horse racing. And then on the Monday morning, a notification came through on my phone, Constitution Hill, a doubt for Cheltenham, and then had to look at what had happened, saw that workout that I think everybody's watched and heard it probably more than I've seen it. And I think from there, it was a tough one, because we want to see the best horses, and Constitution Hill was probably, and I've said this a few times, probably the best champion hurdle I've certainly ever seen. But there was something off with him that day, and you've been saying it for a while privately that there's maybe not all meets the eye, and it just seemed an uphill battle to get him fit. And obviously we heard the inevitable on Monday that he's not going to be taking part at Cheltenham. What's your kind of overall thoughts when you first heard the news and then saw the video that we've all seen? Did you think it was kind of inevitable that he wasn't going to make it?
No, I thought so. I would have been very surprised he turned up, mainly because it's consistent in the campaigning of Nicky Henderson with this horse for a long, long time. It has been, they think a great deal of him, rightfully so, and they feel, obliged to protect him as much as possible. So if he's not 100%, they won't risk him. And he obviously isn't there. Now, they could have rushed him back. There is precedent for it. Binocular one year was practically out the race the day before, and Deaton Day comes he actually comes up and is absolutely perfectly fine, things like that. So it can't be done. Those days, I think, are just gone. Particularly with a lot of welfare watchers and stuff like that. I mean, if you went to Champion Hurdle with a star horse and he started like spluttering and something bad happened, I mean, that would be almost outside the racing bubble. That could be stuff like that could be the death knell in National Hunt racing.
Yeah.
That would be game over. I mean, if a superstar like that, something happened, all right, it's just a coffin and it wouldn't. But I mean, that will be in Nicky Henderson's head. It has been in his head probably for a long, long time. You see this great relief about how's top class horses, not necessarily winning, but just being fine and winning. So well-being is number one, and it's consistent with the way they've campaigned him. So I don't have much of a problem with that. At Kempton, it seemed to be, it's just maybe a cold, maybe just a bad piece of work. He was really struggling with a basic piece of work, and it didn't sound entirely good. Now you're judging from afar, and I'm definitely not qualified to speak in that opinion. But I mean, if you were saying it like, do you want to back that at 46 at Cheltenham 2 weeks time, you would say absolutely not. You'd be running a mile. You just would. I mean, on that impression. So yeah, the only saving grace, I think, I just hope he runs at Punchestown. I really do. I think that would enhance his legacy. If he just did a trip to Ireland and beat Stateman in his own patch, something like that, I think that would really kind of lift things with him. But yeah, it's just sad to see champions not making it on their big race. But hopefully he can come back, and it sounds like he will. It's kind of it was kind of maybe like, and then the bloods kind of showed that it's a bit deeper than they thought. So it's maybe a cold that's just got into his lungs a little bit, and they won't clear it in time. Hopefully he'll be fine. I think for an entry or a Punchestown later on, we will see him again. It's another kind of thing where we're going back to the previous point. Is the other thing is we don't really see these top horses as much as we should either.
No, absolutely not. But you would think like a really short price favourite being out of a race would open the race up going forward. And Constitution Hill, I think the last price I saw was about 1-3 before all this happened, and then obviously you had the nonsense of 2 odds on shots in the same race. But as a bookmaker, you can understand why they would do that. They obviously can't have a liability, and one of them being a short price and they go off, whatever. But State Man is now probably the same price Constitution Hill would have went off. Is going to face more opponents, but is probably going to face kind of the only real threat you would say is Irish Point. But I just think you've won a 3-mile trial at Christmas really impressively. I get where the Elliots are going. It's probably going to be soft ground in the first day. They obviously want to put the challenge up to State Man, but you'd imagine State Man's just going to go there and really have not a lot of competition.
No, the only niggle I have about him is I don't think he's as effective on an old course as the new course at Cheltenham. Maybe that's because Constitution Hill made him look pedestrian, but I mean, they were convinced it was slightly off it. He doesn't quicken like a Constitution Hill does. He's more of a kind of galloping grinder. Even if you saw the last day, where like 2 or 3 out, kind of had to nudge him, and doing that down the hill where you're quicker and quicker, he could get tangled. So I think there'll be I do expect him to win, make no bones about that. But I do think there'll be a brief moment down the hill where you're thinking, this isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Because he might be momentarily outpaced, but the problem is, where's the speed horse here against him? There are none. They're all kind of typical grinders. I mean, Irish Point might have a turn of foot that you don't know about, but I mean, it's been over further and lesser opposition, and there was strong vows for him to go to the Sales Huddle. Fortunately, I've got T Hoopy for that anyway, but you'd be surprised he was quick enough for Cheltenham Hill. But Gordon Elliott was kind of taking well, we wouldn't take him on at home, but we'd take him on here. Stateman's one of those horses where I think he'll just plunder them all at home, but over here in the old course, I think it's a bit unsuitable for him. I don't think anyone's good enough to beat him, but I think it might be a workman-like 2, 3, 4 length win job rather than a kind of 8, 9, 10 demolition job here. The one horse without him that I'm kind of semi-interested in is Lucia on quick ground.
Mm-hmm.
She's quick, pace. I know that they've supplemented the Barico Lord, but he was getting weight from Lucia, and he had his ground. I think it's worth a go. I mean, JP McManus probably went, I'd rather have this than in the county hurdle. He's probably got others for the county hurdle anyway. So yeah, you just want to run on the champion hurdle and spend 18 grand. It's a time of season where JP McManus gets his checkbook out anyway, and he's bought and it's on the line and meeting of the waters and things like that. So you thought he might as well fling £18,500 at and supplementing the Barico Law because he thinks he could probably get second or third.
How many runners do you think we get? Like, do you think we get 8, 7, 8?
Probably 8. Probably get the straight 8.
It becomes a good each way race, but do you really?
It becomes a good weight. I mean, Lucia's about 10-1 without the favourite now. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all slow. I mean, Not So Sleep will go out like the clappers anyway. If it's dry and quick ground, Lucia's the one that's got a turn of foot. I mean, the Greatwood, she was admirably third in behind Iberico Lord. She was conceding weight. You've got to remember, it's not off levels here. She's getting £7 allowance as well. That's a big weight pool, and it's a big price differential between Iberico Lord and Lucia. I haven't pulled the trigger 10-1 without because I think she'll just get bigger and be totally forgotten about.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they'll all be talking about Iberico Lord anyway. So I think if it dries out sufficiently enough, she's the only one there with a bit of untapped potential. I mean, she was like red hot favourite for Mares Novices. Epitone was one day as well. It was eventually coming good. She is improving all the time. She just doesn't want to get bogged down too much. But she's the one that has a bit of speed. Well, I don't really see the rest threatening State Man to that degree. But she's got a lot to find. She's got tons to find, obviously. But from the tactical pace angle of things, Lucia's one horse that kind of interests me, probably in the without State Man market. And if she gets to like silly prices outright, maybe like 50s, 66s, stuff like that, then I would have her over like Your Name Lies and Not So Sleep as a Laurel quite comfortably.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But we had another horse been ruled out at the festival. Obviously, it was the Arco favourite last year, Supreme Mirror Marine National was ruled out. Calum, the Arco was open anyway, and I think I've seen a few people saying, "Oh, the Arco's opened up now. Marine National wasn't there." It was open anyway because Marine National obviously underperformed at the Dublin Racing Festival. It's become a Midlands Arco, I would say. It's become an open race. Where do we stand now in this? Because I think we both had different views, but it just I've seen. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Arco. Remember the one Duke de Geneva one where it was just basically just pick a name out of a hat and go with it. That's kind of where I'm at with this now. I've got a couple of wee things on JPR1, and my mate Mozzie's kind of sneaking into my intentions if the ground does quicken, but it's not a great looking Arco now, is it?
It's terrible. I mean, it's as bad as the Supreme now. But I mean, at least the only saving grace is that they are betting races. They are interesting there. So if you can find the angle, then you're going to get a good price and off to a good start at least. So that's the saving grace there. But yeah, it's a curtain raising spectacle. It's pretty grim. I mean, that was. I'll go into Ballyburn later, but there was an additional level of disappointment in Ballyburn in regard to day one as a whole, how it shapes. But yeah, this race, I mean, Marine National, it was at a point where people were beginning to kind of back him because they had this kind of class edge and beginning to forgive, and then all of a sudden ruled out separate issue, suspensory problem. Hopefully he can get back.
But would you think campaign in the flat as well? I was surprised when he came out and said that. Like that was a potential for this summer.
Maybe he's come back for lost time, but he doesn't scream a kind of flat horse to me. He didn't have much, bumper success, did he? He's kind of things like that. Maybe the season's going to suit him better. He does like better ground, so it might be worth a spin at the likes of Galway and Cesarewitz and stuff like that. I don't think he'll get any graded company that Ascot Gold Cup. You'd be wishing Constitution Hill did something like that. It was an Ascot Gold Cup or something. But Marine National, I think any serious punt, I think there would have been an orderly queue to take this guy on the day. I think there was a bulk of work beginning to rack up this season that this horse has some problems. He's difficult to train. The weather forecast at the time didn't look great. It's getting a bit better now, but he did have this class edge. But when he was surrounded with horses and under pressure, he had no answers. He had absolutely no answers and always took the huff. Really, eased down on him a little bit. Maybe better for another day, but it wasn't a strong Irish Arkle either. And then you've got this kind of muddling race in behind now, where you can make a case for pretty much all 7 of them at the front of the market.
Right, if I was to ask you, we'll obviously talk this more on Monday and we'll have a bit more of an idea what's happening. Right, Gaelic Warrior is now favourite in the book I've got here at 7-2. Facile Vega 6-1. Now we've obviously Facile Vega said he can throw his dummy out, but Mullins is going to send something here out those two. I think one of these
Gaelic
two
Warrior.
go here. Do you think Gaelic Warrior goes here and Facile
Rich
Vega
Ritchie
goes
said
up?
last night that Gaelic Warrior is very likely to go here.
I
Now, I mean,
cannot have Gaelic Warrior for an Arco.
we have seen this before. We've seen this movie before with Fortour.
Yeah.
And it goes completely the other way. So yeah, he wouldn't be taking it completely gospel, but a solid move to exchanges. And if he does,
Would you back him for an Arco?
Absolutely not. But a horse of his class will go off favourite.
Yeah.
Race like that, because there is middling alternatives that can only run to low 150s at the moment. LAT Thompson's a solid one. You'd be the one that you'd back to be in the front three, but I don't think you'd back him to necessarily win it. He found the 50. Jumps his right, and his last experience in Britain was very bad. I'll be honest. I mean, Aintree completely bowled over and was a total mess. That has to be a concern temperament-wise, that there's a bit of a kink in him. Good support for Quilixios, but the form isn't there.
No.
GPR1 solid enough, but again, British form, a bit open to question. You'd have to think he's a bit to find. And Hunter's Yarn might be the Duke de Geneva of the pack, where he's actually talented coming out of left field, but he can clout one. So whether that's going to stop him, and he disappointed at Cheltenham last year. So I mean, you can. There are questions to answer with all of these. I mean, I wouldn't. Before Marine Nationals pulled out, I was going towards the Quilixios bandwagon a little bit. I'm torn between Hunter's Yarn and Quilixios at the moment. I've got a ticket with GPR1 without Marine National, funnily enough, which is now pretty much the same as it was, really. So I think he will run well. And my mate Mosey can come into the equation like a Gabanaco did. So yeah, if you've got this solve, good luck to you, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I think even on Monday, I think we'll have a difficult way to mark this. But in terms of kind of declarations, we've got Tuesday and Wednesdays in, so we kind of know kind of 7-day supplements. The one horse that obviously stands out to that, as we learned today, was Ballyburn, who Willie Mullins came out today and said that they are leading towards what's now known as the Gallagher's Novices Hurdle, formerly the Ballymore, formerly the Barring Bingham. Not many races change names 3 times over a season, but we have that. Ballyburn going Barring Bingham. The first person I thought of when I seen this news was you, because I know how much you're keen on Sladesteel, and I know he's one of your better anti-post bet picks of the week. But he would have a better chance. I just think he would have been far better suited to a Barring Bingham than he would have a Supreme. He's not without a chance in a Supreme, but he was crying out for a step up and trap it in the 2 mile race.
Still could run him here. It's not totally out of the realms of possibility, but that was the thing. That was the jeopardy of the bet. Was if Ballyburn did end up going 2.5, and this fella drops back now. I mean, he needs 2.5 miles, so I'm not entertaining him as a Supreme, to be honest. He clearly needs a trip, and I think this is a big bugbear of where these markets are at now, because you're looking at things and saying that is clearly a 2.5 mile horse. That clearly has the best 2 mile form, and they're going different races. You've got the same problem in Novice Chase, where people are dodging fact to file and things like that, and going to turners where it won't particularly suit them. I mean, it's farcical. If you get rid of these intermediate races, it kills that problem stone dead, and you see better horses running against each other, and you see more of them.
Yeah.
That's the way to go overall. But you've got to remember that 2.5 miles was the initial plan for Ballyburn at the start of the season. He did look like a 2.5 miler. When he shed his maiden tag over 2 mile 4 on deep ground, he looked better. The problem was that all of Willie Mullins' 2 mile horses seemed to be a little bit disappointing, and then he was the one that was nominated for Dublin Racing Festival, and on the Grade 1 evidence, just looking at that race in isolation, you'd be astonished that this horse was going up the trip.
Yeah,
absolutely astonished.
And that's what's surprising me, because at the start of the season, we were looking at Supreme horses from the Mullins Yard, and we had horses like Mirazur West, and there was a few more, obviously Daddy Longlegs you had as well. The way the two now at the top, I think one of these two will go off favourite. Mystical Power or Tully Hill will probably go off favourite because of the Mullins factor. I've only backed against Willie Mullins. I went against the Willie Mullins horse twice in my betting career in the Supreme, and it was when Champagne Fever won. Remember, he beat my 10 or yours. I was in my 10 or yours camp, Edmund Classical Dream. Remember, there was a big Fakir Duderie. I was all over that for that game. So the two times I've went against Mullins, I've been wrong. But I just think Mystical Power was running at Galway in July. Tully Hill was first run was over 2 miles 6. They both get their jumping issues. I'm just surprised, and I know how much Willie Mullins wants to get off to the fast start. I just don't have a lot of trust in these two horses, and I'm surprised that's the way they're going. These are the two horses they're going to battle with in the first race.
The thing is, even those in behind, Mr. Gifts of the world in another way in Asian Masters, I mean, you get 9 of the 15 entries here.
Yeah.
You just turn around and say, well, this is covered. And he's got El Atlantique and Predator's Gold and horses like that in the Barry and Bingham. It doesn't matter. It almost does not matter where the best novice in training goes for the Cheltenham Festival. Had the same problem in Perry Pass last year. He'd been astonished if he went up 2.5 miles looking at that Punchestown performance. 2 mile speedster, bang, bang, bang. All of a sudden he goes up. Well, Facile Way. Now, one of them was campaigned to be a champion hurdle horse next season in Perry Pass.
Yeah.
The one that ran in the Supreme that was second is probably going to run in a 2.5 mile chase.
Yeah, that's true.
Outside Willie Mullins' world, this would be any. See, as soon as that crossed the line, the Dublin Racing Festival, everyone on the planet would have went, well, that is going to go to the Supreme.
Yeah. Remember texting my dad, this is the Supreme winner.
Watching the race, he goes out, bucks out handy, jumps quicker than anything else, quickens faster than anything else. There's no grade 1 form in the Supreme, apart from Slade Steele second. There's absolutely nothing, not even in British context. How can you have a Supreme Novices hurdle with one piece of grade 1 form in there? The Formby winner's not there. Went to Kelso a week before. The Royal Bond winner isn't there. He's injured. The winner at Christmas in the grade 1 isn't there. He's waiting for entry at Paul Nicholls'. So the winner at the Dublin Racing Festival is going to the 2.5 mile race. I find it absolutely staggering what's going on here.
What do you think will go off favourite?
It's beyond. I'm beyond caring, but I think Mystical Power will probably go off favourite. Then again, surely the confidence behind what Tullyhill did has caused this reroute ultimately, and therefore, if the stable are confident Tullyhill, then I think Tullyhill has to go off favourite by default.
Ruby Walsh has called him his Napa the first day.
Well, there you go. Ruby Walsh was on road to Cheltenham 3 weeks ago and saying his jumping wasn't good enough to be in a Supreme.
No.
So I mean, how things can change. And this is the problem if punters are taking things kind of too literally too early on. You're going to get badly stung, and even at worse prices. So yeah. I mean, I'm not convinced by Tullyhill. He started out the season a 2 mile 6 main, and he's going to be favourite for a Supreme
and lost it.
I mean, that is also another ridiculous nugget of fact.
If a horse, imagine a horse winning a Supreme that loses to Shannon Royale and he's maiden.
Yeah, the only kind of caveat there is that his best novice hurdles were probably needing the first run more than his second and third strings.
His best horse lost first time out.
There is that, and to Firefox, who might well go off Supreme favourite, but you've got that kind of caveat of
you're also taking trust with him. You're also taking trust with him that is he back to what he was exactly.
Yeah, I mean he's enough time off to be okay, but I mean. Mystical Power is intentionally going to go to the Laws and Ace like third or fourth favourite.
Yeah.
And he turns up the Moscow Flyer and bolts up now, and all of a sudden, he's Supreme Horse. But as he said, both of their jumping can be sketchy. They're hard to trust. Out of the two, I would lean towards Mystical Power. Firefox not out with it, but I think he's getting to a price now where what he did the last day, I think, you're taking too much of a risk.
I was all right at 9-1, but I think 4s is just.
It's a nice price to be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he won. I think if they all perform to their peak ceiling on the day, I think he's probably the best of them. I think the way they kind of hold him in decent regard, I think he maybe want a bit of cut in the ground from him as well. But yeah, and it's such a bad race that Slade Steele has the grade 1 form in there that he could actually run well and could come into my thinking. And Jericho Derepany, who wouldn't get into a county hurdle in all known form. Has a chance because of potential and how poor this is. So I don't really have much of a betting interest in it, unlike 2 years ago where, you know, we had Gap and Deschamps kind of went wrong way there, and last year at Perry Pass and going the wrong way here. There, you always kind of seem to be in I seem to be in the wrong side of the argument with Willie Mullins, and that's a very dangerous anti-post position to be. If I'm looking at horses and thinking, oh, that's what I like to see, and Willie Mullins goes the other way, then that's obviously a big worry. But yeah, I find that from a sporting element point of view, for the big curtain raiser of the day, and we already have the Arkle favourite out, we already have the Champion Hurdle favourite out, we already have the Mares Hurdle favourite that probably should be in the Champion Hurdle. I think for day one, as a sporting sense, I find it really disappointing that the best novice hurdler in the land is not going for the curtain raiser. And you know, the Supreme, it used to have much more prestige than the Baring Bingham. You know, what is the clamour of? I remember when he had inherited Sir Gerhard and was going to talk all night going the Supreme, and then all of a sudden he didn't. And I'm a bit fed up of it, to be honest.
You raised Sir Gerhard.
You raised Sir Gerhard there.
You raised Sir Gerhard's an interesting one there, but you understood why he went down that route, because we didn't know how much of a freak Constitution Hill was, but you thought he had like Constitution Hill and John Boyne up against that. He had Dysart Dynamo kind of lined up, and we thought Dysart Dynamo was more of a speed horse, and the Ballymore was weaker that year. I mean, Ballyburn. Are you of the opinion that Ballyburn will win wherever he goes?
I think he's 100% nailed on to win the Supreme. I think he's 90% nailed on to win the Baring Bingham, because the one doubt that he has been a little bit keen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a bit of a doubt over this far trip, where, you know, if he has to go forward, and are you going to ride him? You just replicate that ride from Leopardstown in the Supreme all day long. And that's what I kind of thought where Paul Townend had been involved, because I thought Paul Townend would go, well, there's Grade 1 Formula Laws in Acewell Atlantique, and if I ride him a little bit colder, I think I've got a really good, strong winning chance on all known form of everything. And if I just do what I did with Ballyburn, then you're off the mark and flying.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Tully Hill has improved from what he's done and things like that, but I mean, he's no Ballyburn, is he? You would think, and maybe they've got enough stealth and numbers that they think they can win that race anyway. And it was kind of like that when Perry passed last year, and it will probably be that at some point next year. And it's a pretty dispiriting thought, to be honest. Of your best, I just think your best 2 mile novice hurdle should be going 2 mile route. And you usually get that in Supremes. And right now, you know, he's got so many options that it almost doesn't matter where he sends them. It'll work out one way or another.
Right, in terms of kind of the ground, now that's where in kind of weather watch for the next few days. I saw an interesting thing. I was watching a preview coming up the road that involved Willie Twiston-Davies, who stays 8 miles from Cheltenham. Now, I've been hearing that, well, I've been seeing in the thing that they're expecting it to really dry up over the weekend. They're not expecting a lot of rain. They are of the impression that it's, no matter what, it's not going to dry up enough. It's going to be nailed on to be a soft ground Cheltenham. It might calm down towards the end of the week. But what do you think? Like, what do you think? Because you're seeing different weather reports, but I just found that very interesting that they are of strong belief that it's going to be a very, very soft first 2 days.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, you've got to factor in that temperatures are going to go up. You're getting lighter days and then windier, and therefore it gives it a chance to dry out. You know, it can be dry all you like in the winter. You know, if you've had a week of wet, miserable weather, it's going to stay quite damp because there's nothing there to kind of, you know, dry it out in a way. At least you're now going to get change of conditions where with a bit of wind, the temperatures will going up, a bit of sun, the sun will be out for longer, and it gives the track an opportunity to dry up. I mean, there was a going change yesterday. That improved it and get the heavy out of the system. So it's not going to take that much longer to maybe get a lot of the soft out of it. One area of the track which will definitely be at least soft at best is the cross country.
Yeah,
that always gets heavier. It's further down. It's harder to get to, and I think that's inevitable. That's going to be soft. It probably rules out maybe Galvin having a winning chance in it, and things like that. And the hurdle track probably going to be a touch softer than the chase track. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone last week was thinking, yeah, it's going to be soft round all over, but I think it's improved enough that it might be good to soft. There might be the odd shower over the weekend, which I think might just keep them away from, dare I say, even use the word watering this year. But it definitely keeps that out of the equation because it can dry quite quickly. It's not going to be like Sandown where it doesn't and the chase course too much. So yeah, I think it might be a bit dead, but I think it'll be soft soft good to soft. I don't think it'll be too attritional at the moment. But again, even forecasts can change.
Yeah, well, we've got racing to talk about before we get into our anti-post picks. We've got some. If you're wanting your wallet topped up before we get into the real racing at the week, during the week next week, then we've got a big race day at Sandown. Always an interesting calendar race. We've got the Imperial Cup, but we'll start with the 150. We've got a novices hurdle in here. It's a very open race, actually. It's always been quite an open race, but this year's quite interesting. Hasting for the Anils at 3-1, Fireflyer 4-1. You've got Asta La Pasta 6s. It's quite an open race, Callum. Anything out of that can I jump out to you?
I quite like the favourite here, Sting. You watched the last run at Newbury. Yeah, there was quite a lot of people calling that out for what it was. In behind making headway that day. I think there's tons more to come, and I think they've just been waiting for a decent prize, and it's a 45k contest, for a Grade 3 handicap. So he's in off a really decent mark at 119. I think 10 to 3 is okay. So I would expect him to win. He goes on the ground.
Yeah, I would kind of lean towards him as well. Yeah, I would probably say he's the one at 119 is very interesting. I quite like the Ben Pauling horse, Pick Rock.
Mm-hmm.
That's been quite an interesting horse. He has done it in quite good soft ground. Second behind Hastings, and I think he's something like, I'm just looking here. I think he's £4 higher, but he's obviously had a better run last time out where he won really well in good ground at Ascot. Beat in the waterside, obviously, so there's form there, and I think Ben Pauling's horses are absolutely flying at the moment. I could see him having I've maybe not a winner at Cheltenham, but I could see him having a couple of strong runs. Maybe like what Ollie Murphy did a few years ago. I think he could be in contention like that. 225 got the Imperial Cup, good race. The aforementioned making headways in there at 7-1, but Jipcott leads the market for Ben Pauling. Go Dante, Bad, Favre, Knickerbocker Glory. Usually an informative race. Usually maybe see some of these go for a county hurdle. I don't think we'll maybe see that this year. Will we, Ed, and jump out to you here?
All over making headway. One of my biggest bets on a Saturday all season. 8-1. This has been the target since winning at Newbury, where he made all up front. I think he could have been a Martin Pipe horse. Kept him for this because it's worth more money. Heavy ground's fine. 2 miles. Stiff Sandown. 8-1. Won't bet the first 4.
Yeah, I'll leave that for you. I thought Bad was quite unlucky last day out at Ascot.
He's a dog.
I just think he's better than what he's shown. I think he's soft and finish. Remember, he had a really bad run last year at Cheltenham, but he's been maybe a little bit soft in the finish. I think
back to meet Squee the last 3 times, and he's never ever going to get his head in front. He's Mr. Coffee over hurdles.
Is Mr. Coffee lining up this year at Cheltenham? Do you think? Has he entered anything?
He should go for a Kimura, I think. Yeah,
Kimura.
He will handicap. Yeah.
Yeah. To finish second.
He's trying to get over, try and back him each way, I would say. That's what I would say with him. But yeah, it's a good race. Always a deep race. I mean, Jipcott's coming back. It's a quick turnaround. He escapes a penalty, but it's hard to do here. You can go down. He's a reliable kind of handicap hurdler. I think making headways just gets so much more to offer from a mark of 129. And Fivois coming here instead of maybe defending his king is interesting. Maybe that's an indication of ground. I mean, he does like it softer. And Knickerbocker Glory has decent form. He was running on 5th, 6th. Kind of, he was kind of forcing the pace in that Betfair hurdle, and maybe did better than what I thought. So, yeah, I think Knickerbocker Glory is potentially interesting because he was one of the few kind of front runners that held on at Newbury that day, but it was very, very difficult nutritional conditions. So it's a usual kind of deep race, but I just think making headway always goes to a 5-6-year-old this as well. A lot of upside to them. And I think he's got an enormous amount of potential. I'd be disappointed if he wasn't in the first 4 for sure. I'd be a bit disappointed if he didn't win.
Interesting. 3 o'clock, we've got the Mares National Hunt flat race. Calum, there's a horse in here at 10-1 for the Henderson team I thought she was very, very unlucky last time out, and crazier than Daisy in the Alexander colours. She came up against quite a nice mare of Emma Lavelle's, actually. She was only beaten 3/4 of a length. Now, if you watch the race, how she didn't win, she looked to be she looked as if she was going to bolt up maybe 10, 12 lengths and just really get up. Whether I don't know how the steward wasn't called that day. If you watch the race, you'll know what I'm talking about. She's 12-1 now. I think ground might be a concern because that was good to soft. We've obviously she's untested and heavy, but I think if she can handle the ground, if she's that kind of price, I think each way I'm going to have a wee play just for because I thought she really caught my eye that day actually. She's probably unlucky not to win, and I said next time out I'll have a look at her.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Look, I mean, if I had a strong opinion about the Imperial Cup, I've got absolutely no opinion in this. I mean, the only opinion I would say is that this should be run at 5 o'clock, not at 3 o'clock. It's a bumper, a mare's bumper. It's a nightmare. The one because of the ground, I thought Magical Annie of Ben Pollins was interesting.
Okay.
Good to soft at Doncaster. It kind of caught it out a little bit. But it was quite good at Galway earlier in the season on bottomless ground, and I think ground's the only angle in here with such an experienced mares and her at sixes. I think might be interested back in conditions that suit her in the yard are in better form now than they were in mid-December. As he pointed out, he could probably make a splash with a couple at Cheltenham.
Yeah, 3:35. Callum, I'm a strong advocate that this race should still be run at the festival. It is a novice handicap chase, formerly known as the Close Brothers, and you've got a Golden Sun leads the market for the Nichols team at 11-4. Cop Mask 4-1. Callum, I've been saying to a lot of people, I don't know if I've said it to you. I think if this race was still at Cheltenham, Ginny's Destiny would be nailed on for this. I know it would be too high. They would have campaigned them for this.
I would rather have it. I'd rather have a novice handicap over 2.5 miles than an actual Grade 1 race at the Cheltenham Festival. I think there's reasons to believe that you can have a good swap deal there with Sandown potentially. But yeah, Jenny's Destiny, going through handicap routes would definitely be a kind of archetypal novice handicap chase contender in this. They've got Golden Sun here. Crown's a bit of a concern. I mean, he did win well at Kempton last year, but he hasn't quite fulfilled his potential. Maybe he's kind of beginning to. Still a bit of a maybe. I do like the Gary Moore runner, Cop Mask. He was pretty good at Plumpton last day. Sandown as well. Course and distance form. Reasonably enough, well treated. Has to step up here, but he does have a good record in this race and bottomless ground at Sandown. I think Cop Mask, he might just be battle hard enough here to win this. I would side with him.
Interesting. So we've got you've obviously making headways here, kind of nap of the festival. Was that the one you're going with? Is that the one that the punters could lay into before the festival? Was that the one to get the pocket money up?
It's as strong as anything I've backed at the Cheltenham Festival for sure. Yeah, on the day. Yeah, I'm. If you can get eights about him, I'd be very happy.
Interesting. Well, we'll move into the final part of our show. We've got our Ante post picks. Callum, our books are looking fairly solid. We're going to add to them today. How many picks do you have in our final Ante post pick part of the show?
I'll have a couple at the handicaps.
Interesting. I'm going to go for 2. You go first. What race are you going first?
Coral Cup.
Okay.
First Street, Nicky Henderson, 20-1.
I was wondering if you were going to go somewhere like that.
It's been its horse. It's not quite going his way this season. He's been kind of in the handicapper's grip, north 150 all season, all last season. He's been racing in these races. Was in behind Lossy last year, plugged on okay. He's shaped up as if he wants to step on the trip for some time now. The handicapper's dropped him. He's given him a chance into the mid 140 bracket. That's the kind of level of mark that you need to win the Coral Cup. 140, 145 is the kind of optimum mark for this. I don't think it's a great. I think it's a pretty weak looking Coral Cup as well, and I think this class act coming down, a bit like William Henry back in the day. Classy horses that can come down in the weights and have a real go at this, because I think your unexposed ones tend to go to the Martin Pipe anyway. So I think pretty exposed. I think he's pretty ground versatile, and I think he's got a big performance in him. He's now £2 lower than he was when he was second to Stateman in the county hurdle, and he was staying on quite well that day, and I think the old course will help him over the new distance. So I think he's a reasonable each way value, just about 20 to 1. The 20s is just about holding.
I'm going to go for a horse in the Kim Muir for Henry de Bromhead. I'm going to go for
100 to 1.
No, not 100 to 1. No, nowhere near it. It's a horse that's actually got some Cheltenham form. Now, it's over 3 mile 1. I'm going to go for Wacker Clan now of Henry de Bromhead. Now, a good performance at October meeting where he was 12 to 1, off a good price that day. Really, really impressed that day. Jumped really well. Made a big mistake. Just run from the front. Darrell Creef on board. I think what I'm hearing they might be having Barry O'Neill on board. I've not, don't 100% quote me on that. I think it is Barry O'Neill. I'm sure I heard that somewhere. I just think it's a big price, to be honest. I don't think this is a strong Kim Muir. I thought Percival Legalwa was really creeping up on my radar. I think the handicapper screwed him a bit. I think he was way too high in the weights. Don't understand the Good Time Johnny angle at all. Good Time Johnny wins this. It's time to shut up shop. The other one I like was Cool Survivor, but I think Wacker Clan at 14 to 1. I just think it's a decent each way price. Henry de Bromhead always seems to have one lined up for this race. He's got Cheltenham form. Last time out, I would completely ignore his last run. I think that was just to get the cobwebs off. He was 7th in a 2 mile hurdle where he just didn't. I don't know what the plan was there. I think it was just to get the cobwebs off. Mike O'Connor was on board that day claiming so he won't be on the ride. But I think at 14 to 1 for the Kim Muir, it's always a race that maybe produces there's always a decent performance in there. I think Wacker Clan's where I'm going to go for the Kim Muir.
I like it. I mean, he's one of many that are on my radar for that. Two flyers at big prices, no bet at the moment, but him, Cool Survivor, just runs and gallops from the front, as he did that day where he won at Cheltenham early on, which was a good sighter for the track. I'm interested in Am I Right for the Ultima, actually in behind, because I mean, on a pure weight aspect of it, he's quite well in with the favourite. Meeting of the Waters. Just the question is he going to be well handicapped enough? Because he has come from the lower echelons of 120s and things like that, and launching into that race where it's going to be a bit deeper with more weight is asking him a different question. But he's definitely got every chance. He's got a nice profile for it, and the price is good enough.
Where are you going next? What's your final anti-post pick of our busy series this year?
Yes, the Grand Annual.
Okay, that's where I was going as well.
Calico of Dan Skelton's.
Okay.
16, 20 to 1 mark. The 16s. He's just an interesting horse because he's been lumping about in these races where he's carrying so much weight, and this year he won't. He's going to be off 11-1 as it stands. An 8-year-old, he can go around the track well enough. Drying ground will suit him. He's a front runner. It tends to pay to be prominent. He's just not lumbering weight anymore. I thought at Doncaster he ran real well in behind Gabriel's Getaway, who was definitely well handicapped off featherweight at Doncaster the last day. He's kind of battling on, taking two and a half miles. Trupran Law was well beaten in behind that day, and he absolutely hacked up in a similar race at Ayr. A couple of weeks later, it's a decent form at Cheltenham. He was in behind Madara and in Excelsior Steel, where he was giving away, like 13 pounds. He was giving a stone away to these horses that are making a lot of appeal at the top of the markets in these races. But the weight differential now is so far different that it gives Calico a chance. And again, he will not be lumbering around, 11-7, 12 stone, which he has been all season. And I think that's just going to help him because as a prominent front runner, he can maybe have a bit less weight in his back. You can get away from him a little bit more. He's a rock solid horse. Like Dan Skelton's campaigned him admirably to gear up for this. And I think in behind the top of the market, in the 16-21 bracket, I think he's really solid and I think he's reliable. And I think he's a very sound kind of each way play, a bit like First Street is in the Coral Cups. I mean, that might be a decent, attractive each way double on the Wednesday for some people.
No, it's interesting. I'm going to go in the Grand Annual as well. I am going to go a bit higher on the market. I'm going to go for a horse trained by Sophie Leach, Madara. I think 11 to 1 is outrageous of a price here. I've got 11 to 1 here. Now I don't think that's non-runner no bet. I think this horse 143. Now I know they took their chance at Leopardstown. They went to Leopardstown, obviously that handicap chase. They beat a really good field. There's some good horses in there that he beat really well. I don't know if James Ravely's going to take the ride. I've not heard anything on that. You'll maybe know better than me if James Ravely's on board. I would say that's a big plus.
Harry Cobden's going to ride Liberty Hunter,
I've
isn't he?
seen
So
that, yeah.
I would think so, because Harry Cobden was on board when she won at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. They were earmarking the plate, weren't they? I think coming back to this because it looks a bit weaker.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off favourite. I think I don't understand. I think Harper's Brook's been gambled off the boards because somebody's tipped him up. I don't know. I think it was Kevin Blake. I think Kevin Blake napped him, and he seems to have a good record. My mate Mozzie, very doubtful he's going to go. I think Madara, in terms of form in this race, one at the track, has good French form and kind of soft ground. I think this is probably a very, very good chance in the Grand Annual. And I don't think it's a strong Grand Annual. He's ninth, he'll get in, no bother. He's beaten a lot of these, beat Pastoroo, he's beat the Harry Fry horse in the JP colours. He's probably still, I think, well in off 143, one at the track. I think this is probably one of my strongest handicap plays of the week.
Lovely, yeah. Well, definitely in the right form line, because he's in that Cheltenham race, which he beat Calico on, where Calico found the ground too soon. There's an £18 weight difference in the swing in Calico's favour against Madara. If that can't bring things closer, I don't know what would.
I think they're in off levels, aren't they? I think they're both in off.
They're off levels now. They're both off 143. Madara was carrying 10-2 and beating Calico 2 starts ago. Well, Calico was carrying 11-7.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's kind of the weights and difference measures. But I mean, Madara's still young and still improving. You know, there's definitely more mileage in the mark. I just wonder if Calico can that's kind of each way play. I mean, I'm just looking at it from a weights and measures handicap thing and saying, you know, that is a reasonable horse. It's not lumbering top weight anymore, and therefore I think it's got more of a chance than the market suggests. But Madara could be simply too progressive and can still kind of battle them all, and goes exactly the way that you'd want around the Grand Annual of Old Course, Cheltenham. I mean, catch me if you can kind of stuff. So yeah, it pays to be prominent, and it's definitely in the mix, presuming they go here.
And it's always a good race for. I mean, it's only 5 to be fair, but I mean, I don't think a horse has ever won a 5-year-old has ever won this race. But it always goes to decent improvers. Like you look at Sky Pirate. I mean, it looked well out the handicap, 1-11-6. There's performances before of horses. Rock the World, I remember, obviously just did a really impressive season. You've Nick Sensation obviously won it for the Scudamores. There's form in the past.
It's a race that's trolled me for years. It's actually quite art.
I don't think I've ever picked a winner in the Grand Annual, but I think this is the year.
I think I've been on horses that have looked like winning quite often enough, and it's not materialised.
I Dino Blue that last year. Remember that?
I had Time White and I was going to win.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It came to grief. I've had Zanza at 33s. It went off. Each one was wiped out by Embittered, who's my other horse that was going well at the time. Yeah. I've had Bundoran that get chinned off by 60-61 Crockle Bay, who was 11 up the hill. This race messes with my mind all the time, so it's probably going to go again. But I just do think Calico's got a decent kind of solid chance. And Madara's an improver, but the question about Madara is, I don't think she'd want the ground to dry out as much as it might.
Possibly not. Possibly not. But I think that I'm kind of the opinion that it might be. We'll kind of find out over the next few days what the ground's going to be like. A lot of people are saying it's going to dry out. A lot of people are saying it could be quite tacky.
Even when you know the ground description, it might not even translate into times properly. No. I mean, how many times have we seen like Saturdays where, you know, the dirt's kicking up and it's described as good to soft, and it obviously isn't. You know, you even see that in the flat. So you can't, even if you are on weather watch and waiting, you can't really trust that the going description is going to be 100% on the money for you. So that's another kind of unknown to weigh up as well. So yeah, but it's all very exciting, and hopefully we're in the right form line with that race.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've obviously went through the show, Calum. We've one more show before the festival starts. We're going to do a bumper preview on Monday, where we're going to preview all 28 races. So we will look forward to that. In the meantime, have a steady weekend. Do not do what a lot of people do and go mental on the Saturday and leave us with nothing for Tuesday. Keep your money. Have a wee bet. Listen to Calum. Making headway is going to be in the top 4. But do not go crazy, because Tuesday is where the real racing starts. Calum, thank you very much as always, mate. I will see you on Monday.
Yeah, see you Monday for the final frontier.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, folks. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you all on Monday. Thank you.